All right, we are back again, and yet another cold and dreary day, but yet we're trudging on. All right, so kind of set up like it would be for your test that's coming up on Thursday. That means tomorrow we will have a practice test and stuff. All right, so first thing we need to find, I didn't write these out, but we will label them anyways, and I'll try to make sure that they're on the practice test and test. Find our AH and K. Well, our A is 4. Our H is the opposite of +5, and the TV is not on, and nobody told me. Thank you guys, appreciate it. I'm just, going to town over here. Just all excited about math. All right, so we have to describe the transformations. So we're going to have a stretch of 4. Thank you. All right. This is going to go left 5. This means our x is -5. -5 goes here and here. And then our k is positive, so it goes up 1. 1 goes here. 1 goes here. All right. Now, -4, -3, -6, -7. All right. So we've got that figured out. Now, this right here, 1a. Well, our a value in this one happens to be 4. So we're actually going to add 4 to 1, and we should get 5. Yes, student, we should get 5. This would be 3a. Well, 3 times 4 is 12. So we should add 12 to this. We get 17. All right. So you'll need a blue sheet. So kind of similar again, doing a warm up just in case, it's good for people that are not being out to get extra practice. It's good for those who have been out to get caught up maybe and things like that. All right. So we good with number 1 from the warm up? Do we need more time for to let people copy down? And this is for you. Yeah. All right. So moving on to number 2. All right. Because this is in standard form. We don't have AH and K. We have A, B, and C. All right. But some of these are very similar. All right. So our A is -2. B is 4. Or C is 2. Okay. This wouldn't be graded, but if you happen to fill this out wrong, you're going to mess up some of the other stuff, so I can kind of see where your thought process is. All right. So plug in 4, -2. We get -4 over 4, which is 1. All right. So we can plug stuff in here. And to find our y, -2, 1 squared, plus 4 times 1, plus 2. Okay. So we plug it in like this. We hit enter. It gives us our y value, which is 4. All right. And somebody mentioned yesterday in 4th block, they said, so basically, after you do the math right here, this is kind of like your H value, and this is kind of like your K value. I said, yes. I had like 2 people that understood that. Nobody else did. So if that confuses you, don't worry about it. Okay. Don't even just delete it from your memory. All right. So we're plugging in. It's 1a. So it's 1 times -2, which is -2. All right. So we could add, or if we add -2, we should get 2 right here. Same thing as subtracting. All right. And then 2 plus -6 is -4. All right. So I think by the time we got finished with yesterday's lesson, for people that were awake in this class, and most of my 4th block was awake because it was, 4th block, that a lot more people understood the 1A and 3A. And if you're still having issues with it, please ask, even if it's during the test. Okay? Sometimes you can be all the way around the answer and just forget one small thing. Let's not let the small thing turn into a big thing. Okay? All right. So are we okay here? Anybody need more time? I can't remember. You'll see on your pre-practice test. That's what I'm actually giving y'all today, is kind of like a little extra thing. It's a pre-practice test. I think, yeah, you have 2 of the vertex types and 2 of the standard form. So just, you know, good practice. All right. Modeling. All right. For some odd reason, some genius came up with the way of, hey, we need to be able to give students word problems and graphs and have them write an equation, and we'll call it modeling, because it's, they do their little turn on the catwalk. On the catwalk. Yeah, on the catwalk. Nobody? Okay, nobody's awake for the bad jokes this morning. All right. So, now, here's a key word, especially if you're having to take the ACT, you have something like this on it. Anytime you see the word punted, thrown, kicked, launched, you drop, yeah, throw, just whatever, it's going to be a quadratic because it goes up and it comes back down, okay, because of gravity. Now, here's the thing that we need to find. Look at your y values. Where do they start repeating? Right here. See how it goes 30, 32, and then back to 30? Okay. That tells us that this is our H and this is our K. It's just like those points that we were just filling in that chart. Okay. Our vertex would go in the middle. All right. So our H is 4. Our K is 32. All right. Now, the A value. This is the one that a lot of people have a hard time with. Understandably, because it looks a little weird. We start at our K right here, and we go to this next value. How did we go from 32 to 30? Minus 2. That's it. All right. Now we have all our information to plug into this formula right here. All right. So my A, -2, goes here. My H, which is 4, goes here. and my 32 goes here. Now, some people, if you have a really good memory, they're like, "Hey, this problem looks familiar." Yeah, this is actually from some of my Algebra 1 stuff. I didn't try to, like, trust me, I looked online for Algebra 2 modeling stuff, and it was really out there, okay? It was, I don't know. But we can believe people punting a ball. Though this problem is not correct, because if you punt a ball, it's not on the ground unless it's enough to punt, but you know. All right. So, I think you have these directions. I could be wrong. Where it says try these, determine if they're linear, exponential, quadratic. Just mark that out. If not, I may have fixed that for y'all's notes for today. Not a big deal. Bless you. We know all these are going to be quadratic. Okay. All right. So let's look at our y values. Where do they start to repeat? Yeah. 23 and 28. Yeah. When somebody said 3, I knew exactly what you meant. That means this is the middle. This is our H. The 28 is our K. All right. Now, to find our A value, how did we go from 28 to 26? Yeah, I heard it before. The other person said it, and that's it. Okay. So, do, 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 do. Now, I have these set up, the HK and A, in this order because that's usually how you find it. A is actually the last thing you find in these situations. Though some people, no matter how hard you look, you'll never find an A. Bad joke. Okay. I'm giving gold here and I'm getting nothing but response. It's like crickets. Man. Now, there is probably a different way to do this, but it could be a little bit more difficult. We were just filling out the X and Y things. We know that the H and K goes in the middle, so why don't we just build off that? All right. Let's look at number 2. All right. We have our first graph. Okay. Now, if the grids don't show up very good on y'all's handout, I'm sorry. I try to do really good copies, but the copier hates me. Okay. This point right here is at -2, 4. All right. So that, and remember, our vertex is HK. So we know our H and our K now. All right. Now, the next point where this crosses on that little grid is right here at 3. How did I go from 4 to 3? -1. There's our A. Because our points kind of move like slope. So if you're like, oh, you went over 1, down 1, the slope is -1, that's your A. All right. So, wow, I totally messed that up. Now, if you write a -1 right here, I'm not going to count off. Okay. Some people write -1. And remember, we plug in because originally it is a negative. We plug in a negative, makes it positive. I know it's weird. And then some people will write this like this. Either one is acceptable. Okay. I understand that's a negative one. You have to understand to write an actual negative one and not a negative right there. I'm potato, potato. We're good. Okay. All right. Now, this one seems a little tricky, but just stay in it. Okay. Where do they start repeating? On the far end. So it's almost like we don't need any of this right here. This tells us everything we need to know. This is our H value. This is our K. All right. Now, again, really hard. How do we go from 4 to 3? Minus 1. Okay. Believe it or not, in the real world, like outside of this building and stuff, more times out of not, your A values will be negative because you're calculating stuff with using gravity and think curvature of the earth and whatever. All right. So it's the same process for each problem we've had, just different situations. Okay. Uh, Anybody that follows like soccer, hockey, lacrosse, some of those things like that, where I didn't know this up until later, where they don't really practice plays, they practice situations because things move so fast. It's really hard to like get something to set it up. It's not like basketball or football. Basketball, you can come down the court, two, or banana split, or whatever the thing is. Though if you have a basketball play called banana split, that would be amazing. So it's a situational thing. All right, another graph. Here is our point, our vertex. This is actually 0 because we didn't go anywhere left or right. And we went up to 5. Okay, so 0 goes here. 5 goes here. Now, it's kind of hard to see. I actually had to zoom in. To where this crosses again. Come on, you can do it. Come on, little laptop. Come on. You got it. It's thinking. Oh, there we go. All right. If you follow along this blue line, it only touches right down here again. It totally misses this little intersection of those grids. Okay. So our A for this one is actually -2. Now, this is the one we actually have multiple different ways to write this. And either way, I'm going to accept them. Because if you give me this equation like this, that means I know that you are plugging it in just like we have been doing in class. I will have some people that will sit here and they will simplify this like that. Either one, Yeah, because it's x minus 0 squared. Some people will be like, well, that's confusing. Well, guess what? If the purple's confusing, don't do it. Stick with what you're successful with. Okay. All right. Is that the last one? It is. Hooray! All right. So that's it. Don't forget, only 72 subscribers. We got to pump up those numbers. Those are rookie numbers. All right. Good stuff. Good things. Roll Tide.